कृष्ण शरणं मम श्री 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 कृष्ण शरणं मम शरणं मम शरणं मम शरणं मम शरणं मम शरणं मम बोलिए श्री कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी 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 मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी मुरलीधर पीतांबरधारी माई मीरा प्रभु गिरिधारी 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 कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी 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 वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी सूरदास के हृदय विहारी 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 कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरलीधर पीताम्बरधारी
मुरलीधर पीताम्बरधारी
मुरलीधर पीताम्बरधारी
मुरलीधर पीताम्बरधारी
माई मीरा प्रभु गिरिधारी
माई मीरा प्रभु गिरिधारी
माई मीरा प्रभु गिरिधारी
माई मीरा प्रभु गिरिधारी
कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी
कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी
वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी
वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी
वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी
वृंदावन गोवर्धन धारी
सूरदास के हृदय बिहारी
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 कृष्ण मुरारी जय कृष्ण मुरारी
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 बोलिए वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की गिरिराज धरन की बोलो भाई सब संतन की सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की आज के आनंद की हरे राम 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 सीता राम 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 हरे राम 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 सीता राम 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 हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम
हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम
हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम
हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम
हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम
हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम
हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम
हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम
हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम
हरे राम 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 सीता राम राम राम
हर
Hari Om everyone. Can you all see me and hear me clearly? Awesome. Thank you. Today we will be going through, after we have done our invocation and Lalita Sahasranamam, we are in that segment where Bhagwan Kapila Mahamuni is going to talk to his mother Devahuti about the Sankhya Yoga Jnana as to what is the essence of it. Those of you who have studied Bhagavad Gita, Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, Viveka Chudamani, the source of all of that is here in this Sankhya Yoga Jnana. So when Bhagavan says, Etad Maya Pura Proktam, this has been told by me long time ago. And this Advaita Darshana, the roots of it are here in this particular dialogue. So after having given the entire bhakti and its prominence in every seeker's life, such a heart where bhakti is invoked, this jnana is being introduced. Bhakti plays that important role. So let us get to our bhakti quotient today and chant Lalita Sahasranamam and then come to this Bhagavatam. Let us begin with the invocation and then we'll start with this Bhagavatam. सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Hope you are all ready. Let us begin. Om Aim Hrim Shrim सिन्धूरारुणविग्रहां त्रिनयनां मालिक्यमौली स्फुरत् तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमापीनवक्षोरुहां पाणिभ्यां मलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम् अरुणाकरुणातरङ्गिताक्षीं धृतपाशाङ्कुशपुष्पबाणचापाम् अणिमादिभिरावृतां मयूखैः अहमित्येव विभावये भवानीं ध्यायेत् पद्मासनस्थां विकसितवदनां पद्मपत्रायताक्षीं हेमाभां पीतवस्त्रां करकलितलसधेमपद्मां वराङ्गीं सर्वालङ्कारयुक्तां सततमभयदां भक्तनम्रां भवानीं श्रीविद्यां शान्तमूर्तिं सकलसुरनुतां सर्वसम्पत्प्रदात्रीं सकुङ्कुमविलेपनामलिकचुम्बिकस्तूरिकां समन्दहसितेक्षणां सशरचापपाशाङ्कुशाम् अशेषजनमोहिनीमरुणमाल्यभूषाम्बरां जपाकुसुमभासुरां जपविदौ स्मरेदम्बिकाम्. ॐ श्रीमाता श्रीमहाराज्ञी श्रीमत्सिंहासनेश्वरी चिदग्निकुण्डसम्भूता देवकार्यसमुद्यता उद्यद्भानुसहस्राभा चतुर्बाहुसमन्विता रागस्वरूपपाषाढ्या क्रोधाकाराङ्कुशोज्ज्वला मनोरूपेक्षुकोदण्डा पञ्चतन्मात्रसायका निजारुणप्रभापूरा मज्जद्ब्रह्माण्डमण्डला चम्पकाशोकपुन्नागसौगन्धिकलसत्कचा कुरुविन्दमनिश्रेणी कनत्कोटीरमण्डिता अष्टमी चन्द्रविभ्राजदलिकस्थलशोभिता मुखचन्द्रकलङ्काभा मृगनाभिविशेषका वदनस्मरमाङ्गल्य गृहतोरणचिल्लिका वक्त्रलक्ष्मीपरीवाहा चलन्मीनाभलोचना नवचम्पकपुष्पाभा नासादण्डविराजिता ताराकान्तितिरस्कारी नासाभरणभासुरा कदम्बमञ्जरीक्लुप्तकर्णपूरमनोहरा ताटङ्कयुगलीभूता तपनोडुपमण्डला पद्मरागशिलादर्श परिभाविकपोलभूः नवविद्रुमबिम्बश्री न्यक्कारिरदनच्छदा शुद्धविद्याङ्कुराकारा द्विजपङ्क्तिद्वयोज्ज्वला कर्पूरवीटिकामोदा समाकर्षितिगन्तरा निजसल्लापमाधुर्या विनिर्भत्सितकच्छपी मन्दस्मितप्रभापूरा मज्जत्कामेशमानसा अनाकलितसादृश्या चिबुकश्रीविराजिता कामेशबद्धमाङ्गल्य सूत्रशोभितकन्दरा कनकाङ्गदकेयूरा कमनीयभुजान्विता रत्नग्रैवेयचिन्ता कलोलमुक्ताफलान्विता कामेश्वरप्रेमरत्नमणिप्रतिपनस्तनी नाभ्यालवालरोमाली लताफलकुचद्वयी लक्षरोमलताधारा तासमुन्नेयमध्यमा स्तनभारदलन्मध्य पट्टबन्धवलित्रया अरुणारुणकौस्तुम्भ वस्त्रभास्वत्कटीतटी रत्नकिङ्किणिकारम्य रशनादामभूषिता कामेशज्ञातसौभाग्यमार्दवोरुद्वयान्विता माणिक्यमकुटाकारा जानुद्वयविराजिता इन्द्रगोपपरिक्षिप्ता स्मरत्तूर्णाभजङ्गिका गूढगुल्फा कूर्मपृष्ठा जयिष्णुप्रपदान्विता नखदीदितसञ्चन्ना नमज्जनतमो गुणा पदद्वयप्रभाजाला पराकृतसरोरुहा सिञ्जानमणिमञ्जीरमण्डितश्रीपदाम्बुजा मरालीमन्दगमना महालावण्यशेवधिः सर्वारुणानवद्यांगी सर्वाभरणभूषिता शिवकामेश्वराङ्कस्था शिवा स्वाधीनवल्लभा सुमेरुमध्यशृङ्गस्था श्रीमन्नगरनायिका चिन्तामणिगृहान्तस्था पञ्चब्रह्मासनस्थिता महापद्माटवीसंस्था कदम्बवनवासिनी सुधासागरमध्यस्था कामाक्षी कामदायिनी देवर्षिगणसङ्घाता स्तूयमानात्मवैभवा भण्डासुरवधोद्युक्ता शक्तिसेनासमन्विता सम्पत्करी समारूढा सिन्धूरव्रजसेविता अश्वारूढाधिष्ठिताश्वा कोटिकोटिभिरावृता चक्रराजरथारूढा सर्वायुधपरिष्कृता गेयचक्ररथारूढा मन्त्रिणी परिसेविता गिरिचक्ररथारूढा दण्डनाथा पुरस्कृता ज्वालामालिनिकाक्षिप्तवह्निप्राकारमध्यगा भण्डसैन्यवधोद्युक्ता शक्तिविक्रमहर्षिता नित्या पराक्रमाटोपा निरीक्षणसमुत्सुका भण्डपुत्रवधोद्युक्ता बाला विक्रमनन्दिता मन्त्रिण्यम्बा विरचिता विषङ्गवदतोषिता विशुक्रप्राणहरणा वाराही वीर्यनन्दिता कामेश्वरमुखालोककल्पितश्रीगणेश्वरा महागणेशनिर्भिन्ना विघ्नयन्त्रप्रहर्षिता भण्डासुरेन्द्रनिर्मुक्ता शस्त्रप्रत्यस्त्रवर्षिणी कराङ्गुलिनखोत्पन्ना नारायणदशाकृतिः महापाशुपतास्त्राग्निनिर्दग्धासुरसैनिका कामेश्वरास्त्रनिर्दग्धा सभण्डासुरशून्यका ब्रह्मोपेन्द्रमहेन्द्रादि देवसंस्तुतवैभवा हरनेत्राग्निसन्दग्ध कामसञ्जीवनौषधिः श्रीमद्वाग्भवकूटैकस्वरूपमुखपङ्कजा कण्ठादक्कटिपर्यन्त मध्यकूटस्वरूपिणी शक्तिकूटैकतापन्ना कट्यदोभागधारिणी मूलमन्त्रात्मिका मूलकूटत्रयकलेबरा कुलामृतैकरसिका कुलसङ्केतपालिनी कुलाङ्गना कुलान्तस्था कौलिनी कुलयोगिनी अकुलासमयान्तस्था समयाचारतत्परा मूलाधारैकनिलया ब्रह्मग्रन्थिविभेदिनी मणिपूरान्तरुदिता विष्णुग्रन्थिविभेदिनी आज्ञाचक्रान्तरालस्था रुद्रग्रन्थिविभेदिनी सहस्राराम्बुजारूढा सुधासाराभिवर्षिणी तटिल्लता समरुचिः षट्चक्रोपरि संस्थिता महाशक्तिः कुण्डलिनी बिसतन्तुतनीयसी भवानी भावनागम्या भवारण्यकुठारिका भद्रप्रिया भद्रमूर्तिर्भक्तसौभाग्यदायिनी भक्तिप्रिया भक्तिगम्या भक्तिवश्याभयापहा शाम्भवी शारदाराध्या शर्वाणी शर्मदायिनी शाङ्करी श्रीकरी साध्वी शरच्चन्द्रनिभानना शातोदरी शान्तिमती निराधारा निरञ्जना निर्लेपा निर्मला नित्या निराकारा निराकुला निर्गुणा निष्कला शान्ता निष्कामा निरुपप्लवा नित्यमुक्ता निर्विकारा निष्प्रपञ्चा निराश्रया नित्यशुद्धा नित्यबुद्धा निरवध्या निरन्तरा निष्कारणा निष्कलंका निरुपाधिर्निरीश्वरा नीरागारागमथनी निर्मदा मदनाशिनी निश्चिंता निरहंकारा निर्मोहा मोहनाशिनी निर्ममा ममता हंत्री निष्पापा पापनाशिनी निष्क्रोधा क्रोधशमनी निर्लोभा लोभनाशिनी निस्संशया संशयग्नि निर्भवा भवनाशिनी निर्विकल्पा निराबाधा निर्भेदा भेदनाशिनी निर्नाशा मृत्युमथनी निष्क्रिया निष्परिग्रहा निस्तुला नीलचिकुरा निरपाया निरत्यया दुर्लभा दुर्गमा दुर्गा दुःखहन्ती सुखप्रदा दुष्टदूरा दुराचारा शमनी दोषवर्जिता सर्वज्ञा सान्द्रकरुणा समानाधिकवर्जिता सर्वशक्तिमयी सर्वमंगला सद्गतिप्रदा सर्वेश्वरी सर्वमयी सर्वमंत्रस्वरूपिणी सर्वयंत्रात्मिका सर्वतंत्ररूपा मनोन्मनी माहेश्वरी महादेवी महालक्ष्मीर्मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्वा महाशक्तिर्महारतिः महाभोगा महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धिर्महासिद्धिर्महायोगेश्वरेश्वरी महातंत्रा महामंत्रा महायंत्रा महासना महायागक्रमाराध्या महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्पा महातांडवसाक्षिणी महाकामेश महिषी महात्रिपुरसुंदरी चतुष्षष्ट्युपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टिकलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टिकोटि योगिनी गणसेविता मनुविद्या चंद्रविद्या चंद्रमंडलमध्यगा चारुरूपा चारुहासा चारुचंद्रकलाधरा चराचर जगन्नाथ चक्रराजनिकेतना पार्वती पद्मनयना पद्मराग समप्रभा पंचप्रेतासनासीना पंचब्रह्मस्वरूपिणी चिन्मयी परमानंदा विज्ञान घनरूपिणी ध्यान ध्यातृध्येय रूपा धर्माधर्म विवर्जिता विश्वरूपा जागरिणी स्वपंती तैजसात्मिका सुप्ता प्राज्ञात्मिका तुर्या सर्वावस्था विवर्जिता सृष्टिकर्त्री ब्रह्मरूपा गोप्त्री गोविंदरूपिणी संहारिणी रुद्ररूपा तिरोधानकरीश्वरी सदाशिवानुग्रहदा पंचकृत्यपरायणा भानुमंडल मध्यस्था भैरवी भगमालिनी पद्मासना भगवती पद्मनाभ सहोदरी उन्मेष निमिषोत्पन्न विपन्न भुवनावलिः सहस्रशीर्षवदना सहस्राक्षी सहस्रपात आब्रह्मकीटजननी वर्णाश्रमविधायिनी निजाज्ञारूप निगमा पुण्या पुण्यफलप्रदा श्रुतिसीमंत सिंदूरी कृतपादाब्जधूलिका सकलागम संदोहा शुक्तिसंपुटमौक्तिका पुरुषार्थप्रदा पूर्णा भोगिनी भुवनेश्वरी अंबिकानादिनिधना हरिब्रह्मेन्द्र सेविता नारायणी नादरूपा नामरूप विवर्जिता ह्रींकारी ह्रीमती हृद्या हेयोपादेयवर्जिता राजराजार्चिता राज्ञी रम्या राजीवलोचना रंजनी रमणीरस्य रणत्किङ्किणीमेखला रमा राकेन्दुवदना रतिरूपा रतिप्रिया रक्षाकरी राक्षसग्नि रामा रमणलम्पटा काम्या कामकलारूपा कदम्बकुसुमप्रिया कल्याणी जगती कंदा करुणा रससागरा कलावती कलालापा कांता कादंबरी प्रिया वरदा वामनयना वारुणी मदविह्वला विश्वादिका वेदवेद्या विंध्याचलनिवासिनी विधात्री वेदजननी विष्णुमाया विलासिनी क्षेत्रस्वरूपा क्षेत्रेशी क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञपालिनी क्षयवृद्धिविनिर्मुक्ता क्षेत्रपाल समर्चिता विजया विमला वन्द्या वन्दारुजनवत्सला वाग्वादिनी वामकेशी वह्निमण्डलवासिनी भक्तिमत्कल्पलतिका पशुपाशविमोचनी संहृता शेषपाषण्डा सदाचारप्रवर्तिका तापत्रयाग्निसंतप्ता समाह्लादनचन्द्रिका तरुणी तापसाराध्या तनुमध्यातमोपहा चितिस्तत्पदलक्ष्यार्था चिदेकरसरूपिणी स्वात्मानन्दलवीभूता ब्रह्माद्यानन्दसन्ततिः परा प्रत्यक्षितीरूपा पश्यन्ती परदेवता मध्यमा वैखरीरूपा भक्तमानसहंसिका कामेश्वर प्राणनाडी कृतज्ञा कामपूजिता शृंगाररससम्पूर्णा जया जालंधरस्थिता ओड्यानपीठनिलया बिंदुमंडलवासिनी रहो यागक्रमाराध्या रहस्तर्पणतर्पिता सद्यप्रसादिनी विश्वसाक्षिणी साक्षिवर्जिता षडंगदेवतायुक्ता षाड्गुण्यपरिपूरिता नित्यक्लिन्ना निरुपमा निर्वाणसुखदायिनी नित्या षोडशिकारूपा श्रीकंठार्धशरीरिणी प्रभावती प्रभारूपा प्रसिद्धा परमेश्वरी मूलप्रकृतिरव्यक्ता व्यक्ता व्यक्तास्वरूपिणी व्यापिनी विविधाकारा विद्या विद्यास्वरूपिणी महाकामेश नयना कुमुदाह्लादकौमुदी भक्तहार्दतमोभेदा भानुमद्भानुसन्ततिः शिवदूती शिवाराध्या शिवमूर्तिशिवङ्करी शिवप्रिया शिवपरा शिष्टेष्टाशिष्टपूजिता अप्रमेया स्वप्रकाशा मनोवाचामगोचरा चिच्छक्तिश्चेतनारूपा जडशक्तिर्जडात्मिका गायत्री व्याहृति संध्या द्विजवृंद निषेविता तत्वासना तत्वमयी पंचकोशांतरस्थिता निस्सीम महिमानित्य यौवना मदशालिनी मदगूर्णित रक्ताक्षी मदपाटलगण्डभूः चन्दनद्दव दिग्धांगी चाम्पेय कुसुम प्रिया कुशला कोमलाकारा कुरुकुल्लाकुलेश्वरी कुलकुण्डालया कौलमार्गतत्पर सेविता कुमारगणनाथाम्बा तुष्टिपुष्टिर्मतिर्धृतिः शान्तिस्वस्तिमती कान्तिर्नन्दिनी विघ्ननाशिनी तेजोवती त्रिनयना लोलाक्षी कामरूपिणी मालिनी हंसिनी माता मलयाचलवासिनी सुमुखी नलिनी शुभ्रुशोभना असुरनायिका कालकंठी कांतिमती क्षोभिणी सूक्ष्मरूपिणी वज्रेश्वरी वामदेवी वयोवस्था विवर्जिता सिद्धेश्वरी सिद्धविद्या सिद्धमाता यशस्विनी विशुद्धिचक्र निलया रक्तवर्णा त्रिलोचना खट्वांगादि प्रहरणा वदनैकसमन्विता पायसान्न प्रिया त्वस्था पशुलोक भयंकरी अमृतादि महाशक्ति संवृता डाकिनीश्वरी अनाहताब्ज निलया श्यामा भावदनद्वया दंशोज्वलाक्षमालादि धरा रुधिर संस्थिता कालरात्र्यादि शक्त्यौघा वृता स्निग्धौदन प्रिया महावीरेन्द्र वरदा राकिण्यंबा स्वरूपिणी मणिपूराब्ज निलया वदनत्रय संयुता वज्रादिकायुधोपेता डामर्यादिभिरावृता रक्तवर्णा मांसनिष्ठा गुणान्न प्रीतमानसा समस्त भक्त सुखदा लाकिन्यंबा स्वरूपिणी स्वाधिष्ठानाम्बुजगता चतुर्वक्त्र मनोहरा शूलाद्यायुध संपन्ना पीतवर्णातिगर्विता मेधोनिष्ठा मधुप्रीता बंदिन्यादि समन्विता दध्यन्नासक्त हृदया काकिनी रूपधारिणी मूलाधाराम्बुजारूढ़ा पंचवक्त्रास्ति संस्थिता अंकुशादि प्रहरणा वरदादिनिषेविता मुद्गौदनासक्त चित्ता साकिन्यंबा स्वरूपिणी आज्ञा चक्राब्ज निलया शुक्लवर्णा षडानना मज्जा संस्था हंसवती मुख्य शक्ति समन्विता हरिद्रानैक रसिका हाकिनी रूपधारिणी सहस्रदल पद्मस्था सर्ववर्णोपशोभिता सर्वायुधधरा शुक्ल संस्थिता सर्वतोमुखी सर्वौदन प्रीतचित्ता याकिन्यंबा स्वरूपिणी स्वाहा स्वधा मतिर्मेधा श्रुतिस्मृतिरनुत्तमा पुण्यकीर्तिः पुण्यलभ्या पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना पुलोमजार्चिता बन्धमोचनी बर्बरालका विमर्शरूपिणी विद्या वेदादिजगत्प्रसूः सर्वव्याधिप्रशमनी सर्वमृत्युनिवारिणी अग्रगण्या चिन्त्यरूपा कलिकल्मषनाशिनी कात्यायनी कालहन्त्री कमलाक्षनिषेविता ताम्बूलपूरितमुखी दाडिमी कुसुमप्रिया कुसुमप्रभा मृगाक्षी मोहिनी मुख्या मृडानी मित्ररूपिणी नित्यतृप्ता भक्तनिधिर्नियन्त्री निखिलेश्वरी मैत्र्यादिवासनालभ्या महाप्रलयसाक्षिणी पराशक्तिः परानिष्ठा प्रज्ञानगणरूपिणी माध्वीपानालसा मत्ता मातृकावर्णरूपिणी महाकैलासनिलया मृणालमृदुदुर्लता महनीया दयामूर्तिर्महासाम्राज्यशालिनी आत्मविद्या महाविद्या श्रीविद्या कामसेविता श्रीषोडशाक्षरी विद्या त्रिकूटा कामकोटिका कटाक्षकिंकरी भूता कमला कोटिसेविता शिरस्थिता चंद्रनिभा भालस्तेन्द्रधनुप्रभा हृदयस्थार विप्रख्या त्रिकोणान्तरदीपिका दाक्षायणी दैत्यहंत्री दक्षयज्ञविनाशिनी दरान्दोलित दीर्घाक्षी दरहा सोज्ज्वलन्मुखी गुरुमूर्तिर्गुणनिधिर्गोमाता गुहजन्मभूः देवेशी दण्डनीतिस्था दहराकाशरूपिणी प्रतिपन्मुख्यराकान्ते तिथिमण्डलपूजिता कलात्मिका कलानाथा काव्यालाप विनोदिनी सचामररमावाणी सव्यदक्षिणसेविता आदिशक्तिरमेयात्मा परमा पावनाकृतिः अनेककोटिब्रह्माण्ड जननी दिव्यविग्रहा क्लींकारी केवला गुह्या कैवल्यपददायिनी त्रिपुरा त्रिजगद्वन्द्या त्रिमूर्तिस्त्रिदशेश्वरी त्रक्षरी दिव्यगन्धाढ्या सिन्धूरतिलकाञ्चिता उमाशैलेन्द्रतनया गौरी गन्धर्वसेविता विश्वगर्भा स्वर्णगर्भा वरदा वागदीश्वरी ध्यानगम्या परिच्छेद्या ज्ञानदाज्ञानविग्रहा सर्ववेदान्तसंवेद्या सत्यानन्दस्वरूपिणी लोपामुद्रार्चिता लीला क्लुप्तब्रह्माण्डमण्डला अदृश्यादृश्यरहिता विज्ञात्री वेद्यवर्जिता योगिनी योगदा योग्या योगानंदा युगंधरा इच्छाशक्ति ज्ञानशक्ति क्रियाशक्ति स्वरूपिणी सर्वाधारा सुप्रतिष्ठा सदसद्रूपधारिणी अष्टमूर्तिरजा जैत्री लोकयात्रा विधायिनी एकाकिनी भूमरूपा निर्द्वैता द्वैतवर्जिता अन्नदा वसुधा वृद्धा ब्रह्मात्मैक्य स्वरूपिणी बृहती ब्राह्मणी ब्राह्मी ब्रह्मानंदा बलिप्रिया भाषा रूपा बृहत्सेना भावा भाव विवर्जिता सुखाराध्या शुभकरी शोभना सुलभागतिः राजराजेश्वरी राज्यदायिनी राज्यवल्लभा राजत्कृपा राजपीठ निवेशित निजाश्रिता राज्यलक्ष्मी कोशनाथा चतुरंगबलेश्वरी साम्राज्यदायिनी सत्यसंधा सागरमेखला दीक्षिता दैत्यशमनी सर्वलोकवशंकरी सर्वार्थदात्री सावित्री सच्चिदानंदरूपिणी देशकाला परिच्छिन्ना सर्वगा सर्वमोहिनी सरस्वती शास्त्रमयी गुहाम्बा गुह्यरूपिणी सर्वोपाधि विनिर्मुक्ता सदाशिवपतिव्रता संप्रदायेश्वरी साध्वी कुरुडलरूपिणी कुलोत्तीर्णा भगाराध्या माया मधुमतीमही गणाम्बा गुह्यकाराध्या कोमलांगी गुरुप्रिया स्वतंत्रा सर्वतंत्रेशी दक्षिणामूर्तिरूपिणी सनकादिसमाराध्या शिवज्ञानप्रदायिनी चित्कलानंदकलिका प्रेमरूपा प्रियंकरी नामपारायण प्रीता नंदिविद्या नटेश्वरी मिथ्या जगदधिष्ठाना मुक्तिदा मुक्तिरूपिणी लास्य प्रिया लयकरी लज्जारंबादिवंदिता भवदावसुधावृष्टि पापारण्यदवानला दौर्भाग्यतूल वातूला जराध्वांतर विप्रभा भाग्याब्धिचंद्रिका भक्त चित्तकेकी घना घना रोगपर्वत दंबोलिर्मृत्युदारु कुठारिका महेश्वरी महाकाली महाग्रासा महाशना अपर्णा चंडिका चंडमुंडा सुरनिषूदिनी क्षराक्षरात्मिका सर्वलोकेशी विश्वधारिणी त्रिवर्गदा सुभगा त्र्यंबका त्रिगुणात्मिका स्वर्गापवर्गदा शुद्धा जपा पुष्प निभाकृतिः ओजोवती द्युतिधरा यज्ञरूपा प्रियव्रता दुराराध्या दुरादर्शा पाटली कुसुमप्रिया महती मेरुनिलया मंदार कुसुमप्रिया वीराराध्या विराड्रूपा विरजा विश्वतोमुखी प्रत्यग्रूपा पराकाशा प्राणदा प्राणरूपिणी मार्तांड भैरवाराध्या मंत्रिण्यस्तराज्यदूः त्रिपुरेशी जयत्सेना निस्त्रैगुण्या परापरा सत्यज्ञानानंदरूपा सामरस्य परायणा कपर्दिनी कलामाला कामधुक्कामरूपिणी कलानिधि काव्यकला रसज्ञा रससेवतिः पुष्टा पुरातना पूज्या पुष्करा पुष्करेक्षणा परंज्योतिः परंधामा परमाणुः परात्परा पाशहस्ता पाशहंत्री परमंत्र विभेदिनी मूर्ता मूर्ता नित्यतृप्ता मुनिमानसहंसिका सत्यव्रता सत्यरूपा सर्वांतर्यामिनी सती ब्रह्माणी ब्रह्मजननी बहुरूपा बुधार्चिता प्रसवित्री प्रचंडाज्ञा प्रतिष्ठा प्रकटाकृतिः प्राणेश्वरी प्राणदात्री पंचाशत्पीठरूपिणी विशृंखला विविक्तस्था वीरमाता वियत्प्रसूः मुकुंदा मुक्तिनिलया मूलविग्रहरूपिणी भावज्ञा भवरोगग्नि भवचक्रप्रवर्तिनी छंदसारा शास्त्रसारा मंत्रसारा तलोदरी उदारकीर्तिरुद्दाम वैभवा वर्णरूपिणी जन्म मृत्युजरा तप्त जन विश्रांतिदायिनी सर्वोपनिषदुद्घुष्टा शांत्यातीता कलात्मिका गंभीरा गगनांतस्था गर्विता गानलोलुपा कल्पनारहिता काष्टा कांता कांतार्धविग्रहा कार्यकारण निर्मुक्ता कामकेली तरंगिता कनत्कनकताटंका लीला विग्रहधारिणी अजाक्षय विनिर्मुक्ता मुग्धा क्षिप्रप्रसादिनी अंतर्मुख समाराध्या बहिर्मुख सुदुर्लभा त्रयी त्रिवर्ग निलया त्रिस्ता त्रिपुरमालिनी निरामया निरालंबा स्वात्मा रामा सुधाश्रुतिः संसार पंक निर्मग्ना समुद्धरण पंडिता यज्ञप्रिया यज्ञकर्त्री यजमान स्वरूपिणी धर्माधारा धनाध्यक्षा धनधान्य विवर्धिनी विप्रप्रिया विप्ररूपा विश्वभ्रमणकारिणी विश्वग्रासा विद्रुमाभा वैष्णवी विष्णुरूपिणी अयोनिर्योनिनिलया कूटस्थाकुलरूपिणी वीरगोष्ठी प्रिया वीरा नैष्कर्म्यानादरूपिणी विज्ञानकलनाकल्या विदग्धा बैन्दवासना तत्वाधिका तत्वमयी तत्वमर्थस्वरूपिणी सामगानप्रिया सौम्या सदाशिव कुटुंबिनी सव्यापसव्य मार्गस्था सर्वापद्विनिवारिणी स्वस्था स्वभाव मधुरा धीरा धीर समर्चिता चैतन्यार्घ्य समाराध्या चैतन्य कुसुम प्रिया सदोदिता सदातुष्टा तरुणादित्यपाटला दक्षिणा दक्षिणाराध्या दरस्मेर मुखाम्बुजा कौलिनी केवलानर्घ्या कैवल्यपददायिनी स्तोत्र प्रिया स्तुतिमती श्रुति संस्तुत वैभवा मनस्विनी मानवती महेशी मंगलाकृतिः विश्वमाता जगद्धात्री विशालाक्षी विरागिनी प्रगल्भा परमोदारा परामोदा मनोमयी व्योमकेशी विमानस्था वज्रिणी वामकेश्वरी पंचयज्ञ प्रिया पंचप्रेतमंचाधिशायिनी पंचमी पंचभूतेशी पंचसंख्योपचारिणी शाश्वती शाश्वतैश्वर्या शर्मदा शंभुमोहिनी धरा धरसुता धन्या धर्मिणी धर्मवर्धिनी लोकातीता गुणातीता सर्वातीता शमात्मिका बंधुक कुसुम प्रख्या बाला लीला विनोदिनी सुमंगली सुखकरी सुवेशाढ्या सुवासिनी सुवासिन्यर्चन प्रीता शोभना शुद्धमानसा बिंदुदर्पण संतुष्टा पूर्वजा त्रिपुरांबिका दशमुद्रा समाराध्या त्रिपुरा श्रीवशंकरी ज्ञानमुद्रा ज्ञानगम्या ज्ञानज्ञेय स्वरूपिणी योनिमुद्रा त्रिखंडेशी त्रिगुणांबा त्रिकोणगा अनघाद्भुत चारित्र्य वांछित अर्थप्रदायिनी अभ्यासातिक्षयज्ञाता षडध्वातीतरूपिणी अव्याजकरुणा मूर्तिरज्ञानध्वान्तदीपिका आबालगोपविदिता सर्वानुल्यङ्घशासना श्रीचक्रराजनिलया श्रीमत्त्रिपुरसुन्दरी श्रीशिवा शिवशक्त्यैक्यरूपिणी ललिताम्बिका एवं श्रीललितादेव्या नाम्नां साहस्रकं जगुः इति श्रीब्रह्माण्डपुराणे उत्तरखण्डे श्रीहयग्रीवागस्त्य संवादे श्रीललिता सहस्रनाम स्तोत्रकथनं सम्पूर्णम्. Give me just 2 minutes. I'll be back. Can you all hear me clearly? Awesome. So let us go through the invocation of Bhagavatam. We are in 3rd canto, 26th chapter. So let us begin. सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः. यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः. तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयः यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि. धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमः निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम्. श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषुभिस्तक्षणात्. निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. After Kardama Mahamuni left for his tapasya, Devahuti Ji willingly gave permission, but she was sad. She was sad not just because her husband went for the higher, the tapas, but it was mostly because, in spite of having lived with such a great Maharshi, Kardama himself, her ajnana was not broken. Her bhakti was not firm. And she realized the limitation of running after the world of pleasures. How does one really strengthen oneself to get out of this cycle? To such mother, who was lost deep in thought, and sometimes occasionally few tears at her situation. Her son, Avatara Shrestha, Swayam Kapila Muni, Bhagavan came to her and said, "Hey Amba, the first and foremost thing that one has to focus upon if you are serious about the line of thinking that you are going through is to invoke that bhakti in our heart, to instill that sanctuary of divine, sanctuary of that peace within, and that can happen only with bhakti." And having thus spoken about, and whenever there is a new chapter or a new theme beginning, it is to be understood that she not only was listening to it, but also very in a very disciplined manner invoked that bhakti. And now that she was ready, to her, Bhagavan Kapila Mahamuni directly starts speaking about this jnana. In this aspect of jnana, those of us who have gone through Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, Viveka Chudamani, and various other Prakarana Granthas, we hear that Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya Ji is the first one who started promoting this Advaita Vedanta. No, he was not the first one. He never claimed it. So much so that you will not find for such a Prakhanda Advaitin that there is even a temple dedicated, a statue or a temple dedicated for in his name, even in his birthplace, because that is not the criteria. His gurus, the entire lineage of strong Guru Sishya Parampara, leads us back to this Mula, this source, which is the Sankhya Yoga Jnana, which was given by Kapila Mahamuni, Bhagavan Avatara himself, to his mother Devahuti. So that we start in this 26th chapter, where the 24 tattvas will be spoken about. So what did he say? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Atha te sampravakshami tattvanam lakshanam pratak yadviditva vimuchyeta purushah prakriter gunaihi. Hey Amba, O mother, now sampravakshami, vakshami, I will speak. Not some kind of a loose talk or a gossip or nothing of that sort. Therefore, it says pravakshami. It is a comprehensive, consolidated thesis on this jnana, and you will not find such anywhere else. Pravakshami is prakarshena, with a very happy mindset, with a very comprehensive idea of what I am speaking. Sampravakshami, samyak, from all possible angles of understanding where there is not an iota of doubt that can ever creep into that mind which has heard this clearly. Athate sampravakshami. Atha and Om are considered as the Shubha Shuchaka for the beginning. What are you going to sampravakshofy? What are you going to speak so comprehensively and with such a great attitude? What are you going to speak? Tattvanam lakshanam prathak. Of all the tattvas that are to be understood, the essence. Yad viditva. So one might say, okay, I will listen to you. What is the ROI? What is the return on my इन्वेस्टमेंट ऑफ टाइम, रिसोर्सेस, एनर्जी, मेरे को क्या मिलेगा? अपन बात करेंगे, पर मेरे को इसमें क्या मिलेगा? सो भगवान, विदाउट लीविंग अ डाउट, अ ट्रेस ऑफ डाउट, ही इमीडिएटली सेज, very good marketing strategy, immediately he gives the benefit. यद विदित्वा विमुच्येत पुरुषः प्रकृतैः गुणैः. यद विदित्वा, having understood which, विमुच्येत पुरुषः प्रकृतैः गुणैः. Purusha here is not Purusha, Stri, Napunsaka. No, we are not talking from that standpoint. Purusha means the Jivatva. That Jiva, Vimuchyeta, is liberated from the shackles, from the bondages of the gunas of Prakriti. And then he says something very important. First, what book are we reading? Shrimad Bhagawatam. Shrimad Bhagawatam is primary source for Bhakti Rasa. In that, Bhagavan Kapila Mahamuni, who is the very avatara of Bhagavan Vishnu, who is speaking about this knowledge, and in such Bhagavatam, what is being said? In absolutely no confusing words. He says in the next shloka, Jnanam nishreyasarthaya purushasyaatmadarshanam yadahur varnaye tatte hridaya granthi bhedanam. In this Bhakti Grantha, what is being said? Jnanam nishreyasarthaya. Nishreyasa moksha karanartham. What is the only thing that will give moksha? Jnanam. This is what Shruti also says, Jnanat evatu kaivalyam. Only in Jnana is kaivalya. Only in Jnana is the possibility of moksha, nowhere else. The rest of them, the rest of the methods, we are not underplaying them. Even Bhagavan himself, what did he say? Bhakti is the most important step. Without instilling that bhakti, I cannot go into directly jnana. Those pseudo intellectuals who say, oh, I am into spirituality, I don't care about religion, I don't care about rituals. Get your ducks together. Let us not be scattered brain. If you think that that is what helps you, go ahead. But if you are really serious about moksha, not just words of comfort, not just cliched sound bites, one needs to start from that earlier steps. There is no other way. Nanyaf pantha enaya vidyate. There is no other method other than this for moksha. Moksha, as we define, Bhagavan has said, Prakritehe gunaihi purushaha vimuchyate. That which helps the individual transcend the gunas of this Prakriti, which is what is binding us at this individual level, which expresses as sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, and that sattvic, rajasic, tamasic trickles down as kama and karma. The root cause of it is avidya, and that avidya can be removed only by jnana. And that individual who has prepped their antakarana with karma yoga siddhanta puraka lifestyle and the attitude of bhakti in and through, not just limited to the altar, but continuing that into their lives, such individual, when they get to this jnana, when that jnana is revealed, liberation happens. There is that definition has to be understood. That very baseline has to be understood. Anything and everything cannot be called as moksha. This is what is called moksha. And to understand that I, the conscious principle, is the substratum which is called Brahman. That is jnana. In no unequivocal words, he is very clearly mentioning jnanam nishreyasarthaya. Okay, what do you mean by nishreyasarthaya? So he says, Purushasya atma darshanam, atma sakshatkara, moksha. What is the method? Jnanam. Yadahur varnaye tatte hridaya granthi bhedanam. There are hridaya granthi knots. We are very naughty people. We have lots of knots. Understand the knot not like a physical knot on a thread or a rope or on your pallu. But it is a figure of speech that wherever we have laid our likes and dislikes, and with both of them we have created a knot. To hold on to something, to hold off from something, we have these likes and dislikes, we have created several layers. Those Hridaya Granthi, the layer of conviction which makes us do, what we believe, and how we talk, how we act in this world. That has to be broken. Now, if that has to be broken, that can be done only in one method. And that method is called jnana. It cannot be actually called as jnana method also. It is the only recognition in which this Hridaya Granthi melts away, evaporates. Now, who is this Atma? Anadihi Atma Purushaha Nirgunah Prakritev Paraha Pratyagdhama Swayam Jyotihi Vishwam Yena Samanvitam. This is Anadihi Atma Purushaha Nirgunaha Prakritehe Paraha. There should be absolute no confusion. Swamiji, is Dvaita better or Advaita better or Vishishta Advaita better or Nimbarka better or pseudo secularism better or very clearly he is saying what is the nature of that Atma Tattva. Anadihi, birthless. Purushaha, this Purnatvat. Here Purushaha means that which is of the nature of completeness. Nirgunaha prakritehe paraha. Nirgunaha, attributeless, therefore Advaita Tattva. And it is beyond the grasps or the clasp of Prakriti. Prakritehe paraha. And where do you find it? Pratyaktaya. It is verily my own true nature. You have heard of Chardham, right? There is Yamunotri, Gangotri, Kedarnath, Badrinath. Chardham. Those who talk about Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya Ji, they call Sringeri, Puri, Jyotirmath and Dwaraka as the Dhama that he has established. When we do Punya Kshetra Yatra, this dham, that dham, 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 we keep traveling. But the greatest dhama, dhama means saketa, the abode, pratyak dhama. It is verily our own true nature. I am not saying अपने हृदय में है, मतलब आप कौन और आपका हृदय कौन और उस हृदय में कौन दूसरा. I am not saying that it is in your heart. It is verily our own true nature. Pratyak dhama. How would I know? You don't need to worry. Swayam Jyotihi. It is self-illumining. It is that because of which everything else is illumined. Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam, nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agni. Tameva bhantanubhati, etat sarvam. That because of which everything is illumined. Swayam Jyotihi. And Vishwam Yena Samanvitam. The whole world abides in that tattva alone, meaning the adhishthana, the very substratum of this entire creation is this Atma Chaitanya alone. We keep asking, right? Swamiji, why did God create this kind of a confusing world? With such inequality and this and that. Answer chahiye? Sadhana karo. If you need the answer, do the sadhana, and then you will abide in your own true self. And that is when all your questions will stop. Why? We realize that that which I am blaming is nothing but my own true nature. It is not even like, seeing oneself in the mirror and talking. It is being my own true self, which is the substratum of this entire multitude, that which I say is Jagat. Sayesha prakritim sukshmam daivim gunamayim vibhu. And this Daivi Prakriti, that which we are embedded in, don't try to fight with that Prakriti, but invoke it as the mother, which Bhagavan has used to express his Leela. Abhyapadyata Leelaya. He has invoked his own Prakriti and expressed. Why? Leelaya. He is the finance, he is the director, he is the art, it is his creation. So he chose to bring that Prakriti and express through that Prakriti. And who is that? That is my true nature. Pratyak Dhama. If you have any questions, किसको पूछना चाहिए? Say, one day I will see Bhagwan and ask him all these questions. Why? You'll have to be asking it to yourself only. Okay. Now what did this Prakriti do? Gunaihi vichitra srajatim swarupah prakritim prajaha vilokya mumuhe sadyaha saiha jnana guhaya. It says, Gunaihi vichitraha srajatim swarupaha prakritim prajaha. With the permutations and combinations of these gunas, sattvic, rajasic and tamasic, there is vichitraha srajatim. There are so many multitudes. Here, vichitraha doesn't mean peculiar. It means multitudes. And the individual, having been consumed by this Prakriti and its enamoring beautiful multitude, identified with this individuality, what happens? Mumuhe sadyaha saiha jnana guhaya. He forgets his jnana swarupa and starts behaving as this individuality, the identified entity. Evam parabhidhyanena kartatvam prakritev puman karmasu kriyamaneshu gunairatmani manyate. Because of this individuality, there is kartrutva, there is bhoktrutva, and because of this the kartrutva and bhoktrutva, gunaihi atmani manyate. He superimposes, this individual superimposes all these gunas at all the levels. Sharira, mana, buddhi, vyavahara, at all these levels. Because of these gunas, he considers these gunas as his own nature. How are you? I am Sachidananda. No, we keep saying, how are you? Oh, I am grumpy today. I am hungry today. Or now. Every day we are hungry. That would be a wrong statement. I am hungry now. Or I am tall, short, I am black, white, I am brown, I am fat, I am lean, I am ecstatic, I'm irritated, all these are the vichitra multitudes of expression identified with which I consider all these multitude as me. As the identification is higher, mind is racing constantly. When the mind is racing, I don't feel at peace. When the mind is restless, I don't feel at peace. When if it is possible that your mind is restless and you are at peace, we are talking about you only. Meaning, the moksha, mukta purusha. For most of us, the vast majority, mind races, I become restless. Mind peaceful, I am at rest. And what makes it restless is this identification. Tadasya samsrutir bandha paratantyam cha tatkritam bhavati akarturishasya sakshino nivrittatmanaha. The individual is whose nature is that Shuddha Chaitanya, not realizing it, Tadasya samsritihi bandhaha, this constant samsriti, that is why it is called samsara, because it is samsarati, constantly, slipperily moving away. Bhavati akartuhu ishasya. Though this Chaitanya Tattva is akartu, but being identified and enamored with this at this individual level, paratantriyam cha tatkritam. We feel as though we are paratantrita. Paratantrita. Tantra is to be maneuvered. Paratantra by somebody else somewhere else. Nothing seems to be in our hands. Why is this happening to me? Nothing is in my hands. All the complaining and bickering begins. So this is the root for everything. Karya karana kartrutve karanam prakritim viduhu bhoktrutve sukha dukkhanam purusham prakritev param. That who is the very presence, because of who Karya Rupa Sharira, Karana Rupa Indriya. The Karta is the Indriya Adhishtatru Devata. All of this we put it on ourselves, and instead of viewing it as Guna Guneshu Vartante, that the Guna is playing with the extension of the other Gunas. We put that aropa, the superimposition on ourselves, and bhoktrutve sukha dukkhanam. We are going through the cycles of up and downs of sukha and dukkha. All of this can happen because of the presence of Purushaha Prakritehe Param. Of that presence of that Purusha, because of who all of this functions. Now Devahuti says, Sir, I have a question, sir. No, she didn't raise her hand. She says, Prakritehe Purushasyapi Lakshanam Purushottama Bruhi Karanasyorasya Sat Asatcha Yadatmakam. She says, for this entire creation, whether it is Sthula creation or Sukshma creation, you are talking about this Prakriti and Purusha. Can you give me more details about this Prakriti and Purusha so that I can understand it better? So Purusha Prakriti Vivechana begins. Again, let me warn. When you take the Shaddarshana, and in that Shaddarshana you come across Kapila and Kapila's Yoga Darshana, Kapila's Sankhya Yoga Darshana, which is way different from this Sankhya Yoga Jnana. There also it is Purusha Prakriti Vivechana. There is this understanding of Purusha Prakriti that is being given. Here also it is talking the same. So just like how we jump to conclusion saying all gods are same, all religions are same, therefore there also moksha, here also moksha, there also God spoken, this also God. It is not the same. Just because here Prakriti Purusha and there Prakriti Purusha words are used, what is being drawn as a conclusion, that is to be understood. The semantics being similar, it is not what we have to say, oh, this is also similar, that is also similar. No, that is where the similarity starts and ends also. In the next chapter, after listening to all of this, in the 27th chapter, in the 17th shloka, she says, Devahuti, after listening to all of this, she asks a very, very beautiful, pertinent question. If you have the book and flip to that 17th shloka of 27th chapter. She says, she asks, by the conclusion of what you are telling, Purusha and Prakriti both seem to be Nitya. And both seem to be, supporting each other. Therefore, if they are supporting each other and Nitya Vastu, Prakriti will never leave Purusha, and therefore me transcending that Prakriti would never happen. What is the use of this Prakriti Purusha Vivechana, she says. To answer which, in the next chapter he says, Mother, you have asked a very beautiful question. Whenever such, very penetrating questions are asked, the teacher always feels happy. The teacher says, it's a very beautiful question. Both are anadi, Purusha and Prakriti, both of them are anadi. Prakriti is not Ananta. Only Purusha is Ananta. Prakriti can be withdrawn. Therefore, it is Antavanta. It is not a Nitya Vastu. Whereas in the Sankhya Yoga Darshana, in the Shad Darshanas, the assumption made is both of them are Nitya Vastu, both of them are eternal. Which means that today, without this knowledge of Purusha Prakriti, I am suffering. Tomorrow, after learning this knowledge of, according to Sankhya Yoga Darshana, according to them, after knowing Purusha and Prakriti, the suffering will still continue. Now you have to make a choice whether you have to suffer with the knowledge of Purusha Prakriti or without the knowledge of Purusha Prakriti. Here, that is not the case. Having given you that forewarning, now let's get into the Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Yat tat trigunam avyaktam nityam sadasadatmakam pradhanam prakritim prahuhu avishesham visheshavat. That Prakriti, it is also known as Pradhana, is defined thus. Panchabhih Brahma Chaturbhir Dashabhistata Etat Chaturvimshatikam Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu. Panchabhih Chaturbhir Dashabhihi Tata. So total, when you add them up, it is 24. What are you talking about? 5 Mahabhuta. He'll come in the next sloka as to what each one of them that he has introduced. 5 Mahabhuta, 5 Tanmatras, 4 aspects of Antakarana, 10 Indriyas. I'll repeat. 5 Tanmatras, 5 Mahabhuta, 5 Tanmatra, कितने हुए? 10. 4 aspects of Antakarana, 14, and 10 Indriyas. So total 24, 24 हो गए. Now what are these? Mahabhutani panchaiva bhumirapo marut nabha. So these are the 5 Pancha Mahabhuta. What are they? Bhumihi, Yart, Apaha, water, Agnihi, fire, Marut, air, and then Navaha, space. Bhumirapognir marut navaha. What are the Pancha Tanmatra? Tanmatrani chatta tavanti gandhadhini matani me. Gandha rasa rupa sparsha shabda. Gandha rasa rupa sparsha shabda. Sometimes you hear the sequence as Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasagandha. Whether you start from Shabda or from Gandha, the sequence has to be not messed with. When you say Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha, they are connecting with the same sequence of the Panchamahabhuta. So here the Panchamahabhuta started from Bhumi, Bhu, Apaha, Agnihi, Marut, Navaha. Therefore, the Panchatattva is Gandha, Rasa, Rupa, Sparsha, Shabda. Otherwise, usually you will find the sequence Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. That is how Adi Shankaracharya Ji in various works talks about in the sequence. He talks from the subtlest to the grossest. Here it is from the grossest to the subtlest. So Pancha Mahabhutani, Pancha Tanmatrani. Indriyani Dasha. What are the 10 Indriyas? Shotram Tvag Drug. So in the whole sequence, he says the 10 are the Shrotra, Tvacha, Chakshu, Rasana, Nasika, Vak, Pani, Pada, Upastha, Payu. 10. 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action, the faculty. Those are the 10 organs. Now, Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chittam Iti Antaratmakam Chaturdha Lakshate Bhedaha Vritya Lakshana Rupaya. It is so beautiful and comprehensive. Like how he said Sampravakshami, he is just justifying that Sampravakshami in every word. He says, in say the Antakarana, how is he putting it across? He says, Vritya Lakshana Rupaya. They are essentially nothing but Vritti Rupa. Vritti meaning thought form. Their essential structure is nothing but a thought. Bhedo Vritya. But their difference happens because of the functionality of this Vritti. They are considered as 4. Chaturdha Lakshate. Based on what? Bhedo Vritya. By the functionality of the Vritti. But Vritti is their basic structure, building block. It is nothing but a thought. And what are they? Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta, Iti, Antaratmakam. These are the 4 internal equipments. So, have we covered all of them? I think we have covered. एतावानेव संख्यातः ब्रह्मणः सगुणस्यः सन्निवेशो मया प्रोक्तः यः कालः पंचविंशकः. There are people who say no, there is 25th element also, and that 25th element is called panchavimshakaha, the 25th one. Areva, what is the 25th? The 25th one. It is also known as, the 25th one is also known as Kalaha. There are some who say it is time. But then he says very succinctly, very beautifully, in the 18th shloka he says, Antah Purusha Rupena Kala Rupena Yo Bahihi Samanvetyesha Sattvanam Bhagavan Atma Mayaya. Get this point very, very clear. He says that who we just said is the Adhishthana, the Chaitanya, is inside. When expressed as Ishvara, he is the Kala, meaning Bhagavan Swayam is Kala Swarupa. Therefore, he cannot be called as because who finally ultimately withdraws this Prakriti back? Bhagavan Swayam. As what? As finishing the time. time up, all the Prakriti becomes Laya. But as that time, who is functioning? He says it is this Bhagavan Swayam. Therefore, we worship Bhagavan as a Kala Swarupa as well. Kalaha Kalatitas San. He expresses as Kala, but being unbound by the time. So when people ask, when was Bhagavan? When was he created? He is the one who created time. He is the one who created when. To ask him when was he created, we can only say before the when was created. With respect to that. Before the time was created, he alone existed. And then he expressed as time. Meaning all this creation is put under one, and that is called watch, time. And that is the expression of that Ishvara. So whenever you see the watch, what should reflect in our minds? Swayameva kalasan kalatitaha. He is expressing as time. Tick, 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 tick. He is reminding us. Right? तुम्हारा time up होने से पहले do something which will take you to your own substratum. Now, how he develops the thought so beautifully. He continues, he says, when this Paramatma he tries to express and expand as this through his Maya Shakti, he is the one that is enlivening everything as the Chit Shakti Swarupaha. He is the very Chit Shakti Swarupaha. Vishvatma Gatam Vyanjan Kutastho Jagadankurah Swatejasapi Bhatti. So he is the one who is the substratum which is enlivening, empowering everything that moves, everything that which exists as in its form. Therefore, when he withdraws, there is laya. When he resumes, it is the vikshepa. How does he do that? He says, though Bhagavan Swayam is verily Shanta, Akartru, and yet when he allows that Maya Shakti to take over, in the 21st shloka, Yat tat sattvagunam swacham shantam bhagavataṃ padam. That which is shantam, swacham, that is bhagavataṃ padam. That it is pure, it is nirmala, there is no possibility of any movement. But when he is identifying himself with his Maya Shakti and expressing, that first identification which we call as Ishvara, in this Sankhya Yoga Jnana is also referred to as Vasudeva iti. Yadahuhu Vasudevakyam is also known as Vasudeva. And this Vasudeva is the expression of that Paramatma with that Shakti, Maya Shakti, therefore is called Vasudeva. It is the very Chitta, very essence of everything that is yet to be. That is called Vasudeva. Now, from this Vasudeva, with his existential principle, Chit Shakti Swarupa, as he identifies with this and the expression explodes or expands. They are of three types: Vaikarika, Taijasa, and Tamasa. With these three kinds, he expresses. And with these three, Kramashaha, sequentially, with the Vaikarika, the mana at the totality level, the total mind, and Taijasa, there is Indriya. And with the Tamasa, the Panchamahabhuta is created. Now connect this back to Tattva Bodha. Step by step, have we not seen that Satvik Amshat, then the Rajasik Amshat, then the Tamas Amshat, then in the Tamas Amsha, there is Panchikarana. From the Panchikarana, there is the creation. The same very concept which is again being said in a very nutshell. That which Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya Ji step by step expanded it into 3 pages. In one shloka, he has said it all. And the beauty is, Devahuti Ji is perfectly understanding it. So don't consider her as, oh, I see, she got enticed into that beautiful world that Kardama Rishi had created. She is Manu Santati. Don't forget that. She is the daughter, the first daughter of Manu Maharaj. Born to that, unto who is born this Kapila Mahamuni, Apara Medhavi. The moment he is telling it, she is just, soaking it all without any confusion. And then he tries to explain further. When that identification at the samashti level happens and the expression begins, the Vaikarika Ahankara, which when expresses becomes the man, from this mind there is Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam, and there was the first desire. And what is the first desire? Bahusyam praja yeyeti satapotapyata satapastaptva idagam sarvam asrujata. Sa ekaha, though he is indivisibly one. Identifying himself with the Maya Shakti, he said, let the play begin. Bahusyam praja yeyeti. That is called the Ichha Shakti. Now here at this stage, Maya can be defined as not just Trigunatmika. That is one definition. Sattva-rajas tamo gunatmika is one definition. The second definition of his Maya Shakti is defined as Ichha Jnana Kriya Shakti. This is where I keep saying that we also have Ichha. He as Ishwar also has Ichha. We also have Kriya. He also has Kriya. We also must be having our Jnana. He also has Jnana. Must be having, in parenthesis, bold letters, red marked, questionable. But the only difference is, I call this as sequential disorder. Who is Ishvara? The one who has the sequence of Ichha, Jnana, Kriya Shakti. Who is a Jiva? We also have these three. But the sequential disorder makes us Jiva. Ichha, Kriya, then comes Jnanotpatti. Getting the sequential disorder? In Hindi we used to say, बेवकूफ कौन? जो पहले करे बाद में सोचे वो बेवकूफ. तो वही तो है sequential disorder. The one who first does and then starts thinking, अरे रे क्या कर दिया? Why did I do what I did? So first there is Ichha Shakti. As soon as there is Ichha Shakti, we don't back it up with jnana, but we jump into action. And then posthumously we get jnana. Hindsight vision. Perfect 2020. Foresight. We misunderstand it and see it as FOURSIGHT. Have constantly divided in so many different angles. Whereas in Bhagavan, it starts from Ichha Shakti. As soon as there is Ichha Shakti, there is Jnana Shakti. And backing that Jnana Shakti, expressing it with Kriya Shakti. When Brahma Ji, we saw the story earlier. When Brahma Ji came from that Kamalodbhava, he came out of that Kamala. He didn't see the end of everything. Like, there's no end to it. In any direction. So he got agitated, ran up and down here and there, said, okay, fine, let me sit. There was the instruction. You should start creating. He didn't jump into the action and say, अच्छा, कर दिया. क्या? आपने बोला करो, मैंने कर दिया. No, he didn't jump. He sat in tapas. He acquired this knowledge and then executed it. The same sequence, the expression of that Ishvara. So there is this, and the one who is the Adhishthana of this Sankalpa Shakti, Bahusyam Prajayeti, that in this Sankhya Yoga Jnana is also referred to as Aniruddha. You see, when we take the Achamana, right? Keshava, the Keshava Namani, we talk about all of these. Where did these names come from? That is the Vyutpatti, the very origin of it is being discussed. So he is called Aniruddha. Then the moment it becomes Nishchita Jnana, like, the very decisive, it is Buddhi. That Buddhi expression of this Paramatma Tattva identified now to express when it takes the firmness of conviction, that firmness of conviction is also known as Pradyumna. Sankarshana, Aniruddha, Pradyumna. And then with the Tamasa aspect of it, the 5 elements, the Panchamahabhuta, they were further orchestrated to mix and match so that there is gross world created. That was from the Tamasa Ahankara. Now when we say Ahankara here, we are talking of the totality, not of the individuality. The total Ahankara is still very Parishuddha. That is Ishvara we are talking about. So one by one, step by step, he says that Shabda Tanmatra, the Vikriti of the Tamasa Ahankara, there was Shabda Tanmatra. The Shabda Tanmatra, there was Akasha. The Shabda Tanmatra, the Jnana, is to have that Jnana of that Shabda Tanmatra, the Shrotrendriya. Now the Shrotrendriya, the one, the Indriya, it had to take the support again from this Atma Chaitanya to be able to hear. That substratum is still the same. Now the Shabda Tanmatra, when there was a Vikara in that Shabda Tanmatra, it became Sparsha Tanmatra. This is, we are running into 35th shloka. Now the Shabda Tanmatra, when it becomes Sparsha Tanmatra, the Vayu Utpanna, Vayu came into expression. Now that Vayu, what does it do? You have the Sparsha Jnana. You have the sense of touch. Whether it is softness, harshness, roughness, all of these separate different kinds of multitudes in that, whether it is coldness, whether it is heatness, all of this, it is through this Sukshma Rupa of this Vayu, Sparsha Lakshana is gained. Now when the Sparsha Tanmatra, there is a Vikara in it, there is a Vaikritikam, Vaikarika, then the Rupa Tanmatra comes into being. Now the Rupa Tanmatra is to be able to see. Therefore the Netrendriya came about, it was created. So each one of them in a sequential order were created. Then the Rupa Tanmatra, when there is a Vaikariki there is a Rasa Tanmatra that was born. From the Rasa Tanmatra, in order to taste it, there is Jihva, Rasanendriya. And therefore, there is the Jala Tattva. Therefore, when you see, when there is temperature, we run a temperature, when fever, we cannot taste anything. Why? Because the tongue has become dry. The Jala Tattva has gone out. So anything that you put on it, it tastes tasteless. Why? Jala Tattva is gone. You can make an experiment, but do it in closed environment. Otherwise people say, pagal ho gaya kya? After Vedanta class. Take a pad of tissue papers. Stick your tongue out, dry it out, and throw bunch of stuff, salt, sugar, sour. You will not be able to taste and make a difference. Why? The tongue has become dry. Jala Tattva is required. Therefore, Rasana, Jala Tattva. And with that we see different kinds. Kashayo, Maduraha, Tikta, Katva, Amla, Iti, Anekadha. Different kinds of tastes. Now when there is a Vikara in this Rasa Tattva, there is Gandha Tanmatra. Now the Gandha Tanmatra, in order to, Gandha means smell. In order to smell it, you need the instrument. Therefore, the instrument that was created was the Ghrana. Granendriya. I am not talking of Nasika here. The capacity to smell. So the different kinds of Sugandha, Durgandha, Mishrita Gandha, all of this can be experienced through the Nasika. Now once all of this was created, he goes into the details as to each one, what is the scope? What is the scope of that Akasha? What is the scope of the Vayu? What is the scope of all of this, that which he has created? The scopes are discussed. In Tattva Bodha also we have seen that in detail. Now with all this in place, there is the golden egg of possibility, Brahmanda. The Hiranyagarbha of that Brahmanda was created. In that also this Paramatma alone entered in, Pravivesha. Now, when you say Pravivesha, you might say there was something other than that Paramatma into which Paramatma came in. No. Pravivesha meaning he was already pervading through. That Hiranyagarbha and the Brahmanda in it. The scope of that Brahmanda in it. Brahmanda is that which is created. The scope of it is conceived. Now this scope is also in several layers. So from the 51st shloka, we will see it next week, because I just glanced onto the time. I'm already 1 minute delayed. So I will stop here. We'll continue it next week. So I would say sorry to both Sushma Amma and Hari that your role today will not have time. So we'll conclude it abruptly here. I just realized that it was beyond 12. Let me stop. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanta Shanta Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Take care everyone. See you all.